My life seemed to be a series of events and accidents, yet when I look back, I see a pattern. For a thinking person, the most serious mental illness is not being sure of who you are. I found myself in the position of that child in a story who noticed a bit of string, and out of curiosity, pulled on it to discover that it was just the tip of a very long and increasingly thick string, and kept bringing out wonders beyond reckoning. The brain highlights what it imagines as patterns. It disregards contradictory information. Human nature yearns to see order and hierarchy in the world. It will invent it where it cannot find it. A man is known by his heroes. For instance, suppose you offer somebody a choice. They can flip a coin to win $200 for heads and nothing for tails, or they can skip the toss and collect $100 immediately. Most people, researchers have found, will take the sure thing. Now alter the game. They can flip a coin to lose $200 for heads and nothing for tails, or they can skip the toss and pay $100 immediately. Most people will take the gamble. To the imagined rational man, the two games are mirror images. The choice to gamble or not should be the same in both. But to a real, irrational man who feels differently about loss than gain, the two games are very different. The outcomes are different and sublimely irrational. For most of my life, one of the persons most baffled by my own work was myself. Too often, an event's importance is not recognized until it is too late for proper recording. Why is geometry often described as cold and dry? One reason lies in its inability to describe the shape of a cloud, a mountain, a coastline, or a tree. Clouds are not spheres, mountains are not cones, coastlines are not circles, and bark is not smooth, nor does lightning travel in a straight line. In the 1960s, some old-timers on Wall Street, the men who remembered the trauma of the 1929 crash and the Great Depression, gave me a warning. When we fade from this business, something will be lost. That is the memory of 1929. Because of that personal recollection, they said, they acted with more caution than they otherwise might. Collectively, their generation provided an inbuilt brake on the wildest form of speculation, an insurance policy against financial excess and consequent catastrophe. Their memories provided a practical form of long-term dependence in the financial markets. Is it any wonder that in 1987, when most of those men were gone and their wisdom forgotten, the market encountered its first crash in nearly 60 years? Or that 2 decades later, we would see the biggest bull market and the worst bear market in generations? Yet standard financial theory holds that in modeling markets, all that matters is today's news and the expectations of tomorrow's news. For a complex natural shape, dimension is relative. It varies with the observer. The same object can have more than one dimension, depending on how you measure it and what you want to do with it. And dimension need not be a whole number. It can be fractional. Now, an ancient concept, dimension, becomes thoroughly modern. Since algebra derives from the Arabic jabara equals to bind together, fractal and algebra are etymological opposites. Rule 1. Markets are risky. Rule 2. Trouble runs in streaks. Rule 3. Markets have a personality. Rule 4. Markets mislead. Rule 5. Market time is relative. Some economists, when thinking about long memory, are concerned that it undercuts the efficient market hypothesis, that prices fully reflect all relevant information, that the random walk is the best metaphor to describe such markets, and that you cannot beat such an unpredictable market. Well, the efficient market hypothesis is no more than that, a hypothesis. Many a grand theory has died under the onslaught of real data. No one is alone in this world. No act is without consequences for others. It is a tenet of chaos theory that in dynamical systems the outcome of any process is sensitive to its starting point. Or, in the famous cliché, the flap of a butterfly's wings in the Amazon can cause a tornado in Texas. I do not assert markets are chaotic, though my fractal geometry is one of the primary mathematical tools of chaology. But clearly, the global economy is an unfathomably complicated machine. To all the complexity of the physical world of weather, crops, ores, and factories, you add the psychological complexity of men acting on their fleeting expectations of what may or may not happen, sheer phantasms. Companies and stock prices, trade flows and currency rates, crop yields and commodity futures, all are interrelated to one degree or another, in ways we have barely begun to understand. In such a world, it is common sense that events in the distant past continue to echo in the present. In an ever more complex world, scientists need both tools, image as well as number, the geometric view as well as the analytic. The two should work together. Visual geometry is like an experienced doctor's savvy in reading a patient's complexion, charts, and x-rays. Precise analysis is like the medical test results, the raw numbers of blood pressure in chemistry. A good doctor looks at both, the pictures and the numbers. Science needs to work that way too. There is a rich vein of jokes about economists and their assumptions. Take the old one about the engineer, the physicist, and the economist. They find themselves shipwrecked on a desert island, with nothing to eat but a sealed can of beans. How to get at them? The engineer proposes breaking the cap open with a rock. The physicist suggests heating the can in the sun until it bursts. The economist's approach: first, assume we have a can opener. In economics, there can never be a theory of everything, but I believe each attempt comes closer to a proper understanding of how markets behave.